Welcome to the FSL Re-Registration Training. We will show you how to do the re-registration process for your groups on MU Engage. And Sarah's going to go ahead and take over.
So we're going to do a couple of different things. First of all, I'm just going to go through real quick what it's going to look like, how you are going to get to the re-registration process within the new Engage platform. To tell you some things that you will need to gather together before you start the process, just to make it a little smoother, a little easier for you. And then we'll go through kind of in real time what it looks like to fill out the form, fill out the survey. So this is, at the time of this training, this is what the new Engage homepage website looks like. And the easiest way to get to that is just engage.missouri.edu. There's several other ways you can get to it. You can Google, there's an app, there's several other ways you can get to it, but the website is engage.missouri.edu. Now, once you're here, you're going to go at the top where it says groups. Now, if you have previously looked at or viewed your group, you'll see it under the last seen. You'll also see it under the My Groups. You can also just search for the name. Alternately, if you go back to that home page and scroll down, you will see a subheading that says My Groups, and you'll be able to see it from there. So once you click on that, you go to the appropriate group that you're hoping to re-register. Then you'll see this message here, which basically says your group needs to re-register. We'll need to do this at the beginning of every semester. Click on this blue button, group re-register here. So that will be at the top of the page. You'll see it pop up as soon as you access that group page. Now, what that's going to look like, we're going to require several stages of information. The first page, we're going to ask just basic information. We need your group name, what kind of group or organization you are. You'll be fraternity and sorority, of course. We'll require your copy of your constitution. So make sure you have that in a digital file. We also need to know a contact person, which is typically the president. So make sure that you have that information handy as well. We'll also ask some optional information. There's a space to enter your benefits or just kind of some information about the group. We'll also have a space to enter your mission. If you have a motto or a creed, anything like that, you can type that in. And then just some general goals for your group and your organization. Like I said, those are optional. You'll see that when we get into the form. The next page is going to ask for chapter information. So we're going to ask for your name. There's going to be a section you can type in a local name. So if you have a national organization, but your chapter has a slightly different name here on campus, you'll be able to type that in. We're going to ask when and how often and what time you have your all chapter meetings. We're going to ask about your election information for your officers and when those officers take over, what time of year. There will be a section that you can put in any social media handles that you have. That's optional. The next page, we're going to dive into the officers. So we're going to ask for president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, reservations manager, risk manager, and the new member educator or intake chair. They're called slightly different with different chapters. Now, for each one of those, we are going to ask for the officer's name, email address, and phone number. So make sure that you have all of that handy. There will also be sections to add any extra vice presidents. So some chapters have multiple vice presidents that are kind of in charge of different aspects of the organization. So you'll be able to put those in as appropriate as well. Some organizations also have recruitment chairs and social chairs. Again, we'll need, if you choose to add those, we'll need name, phone number, email address. So just make sure you have those. We're also going to ask about your physical house, your physical facility. There will be a section, a question that asks if you have a physical house. And obviously, if you don't have a house on campus or campus adjacent, then you'll hit no. You'll be able to go to the next question. You won't have to fill the rest of it out. If you say yes, we are going to ask some information. We're going to ask for the street address. We're going to ask for the house manager, which is an undergraduate student. We're going to ask for the house director, which is typically an adult. It might be faculty and staff, might be somebody not affiliated with the university. And then we're going to ask about the housing corporation president. There are some housing corporations also have other board members, so there will be optional sections to complete if that is appropriate. Again, name, email address, phone number for all of those people. And then we're going to ask for your chapter advisor. You all should have a primary advisor. And then there are some that have secondary optional advisors. So there will be sections for that, name, phone number, email address for them. So that is just kind of a general what you can expect from the form. Now this is going to be exactly how you get to that form, what it looks like. We're going to fill it out together in real time. So like I said, this is our homepage. This is the Engage website. As I mentioned before, you can go up here to groups. If you have recently looked at your group, you'll see it under the last seen. You also see it here under my groups. You can search. Or as I mentioned before, you can scroll down to my groups and you'll see that here. We're going to go to this one today, the FSL test, just so that we can get that filled out for you today. So like I said, I mentioned that you would see this powder blue box with information about the re-registration, just this dark blue button, group re-registration right here. Your group name, that will automatically be entered. That is a non-editable form. Your name will already be in there on this first page. Under categories, you are going to want to select fraternity and sorority, but then you can select other options as well. If you have service and philanthropy, if you want that tag to be associated with your group. If you are an academic chapter, you can select several different options, and those are just going to be tags in the Engage platform. Like I said, if you want to upload your logo or your letters, your crest, whatever you want to do there, this is just a text box. You can type in membership benefits, your chapter's mission, your chapter's goals. Now this constitution, you will need to, that is a mandatory section. You will need to do that. So I will just pull this up real quick. And then just click done. So that will attach to the form. Now here under the contact person, and this is going to be the same for any kind of these names or officers. This is going to pull from the database that is in Engage. So all students were imported into the new Engage platform. So you should see all of the undergraduate students that you're going to enter here in this form. So there are a few ways that you can search for people. You can search for your officers or other students. For purposes of this training, I'm just going to use my name, but obviously you would use the officers that are appropriate for your situation. So you can type in the last name and it will search. It found me. I have a kind of an unusual name, so it found me fairly easily. If the officer has an unusual name or a usual name, a common name, that might be a little more difficult. You can also search by first name and last name. or the last option, you can search by university email or paw print. The one thing that you cannot search by is student ID number. So make sure that you have some other way of finding or importing your officer's name. And there may be a case where your officer has a very similar name to somebody else. So just make sure that you are selecting the correct person from that drop-down list. So I'm just going to go ahead and put myself as the president or the main contact person and hit next. Now this page is, you need to do it in one setting because you can't save this as a draft. Once you get past that first page, from here on out, you can save it as a draft and you can come back to it later if you need to. So now we're going to get into just the kind of the nitty-gritty of your chapter of your organization. This is just an introduction, kind of what we're going to ask for. If you have any questions, there's some contact information for us here as well. The next page, we're going to ask information about your chapter. So there's a drop-down box here. You should see the name of your chapter or organization here. Just search through it and click on the correct one. If you don't see your chapter here, you should all be imported in here. But if not, reach out to us and we can figure out what's going on. So that's going to be your kind of national your national chapter name. You can also put in if you have a local name. So for example, if you are the Alpha chapter of Alpha Alpha Alpha, for example. The social media is optional. If you have Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever kind of social media you use, you're welcome to put that in there. And that just kind of helps us. If anybody has any questions, wants to know how to get in touch with you, we'll have that information we can share with them. A mandatory question, when do you hold chapter meetings? So for example, Monday weekly at 6 p.m. That's as much as we need to know. Officer elections, when do you hold those elections? And when will the new officers officially take over? When will they be inaugurated? So you'll just type that in there, hit next. That will save, like I said, that will save as a draft. You can come back later if you need to. Now the next page is going to ask for your officer information. Like I said, you can type in your president's name, that should automatically populate. Make sure that you are selecting the correct one. It's going to ask for your president's email address and phone number. And that's going to be the same thing for each officer. So your vice president. Now the vice president, it does have another question because the title, like I said, some chapters have multiple vice presidents. So if your vice presidents have extended titles or multiple titles, you can type that in there. Email address, phone number. This is an optional question, or this question is mandatory, but depending on your answer will affect the rest of the next questions. So if you have other vice presidents, if you have multiple vice presidents, you'll say yes. You can enter that information here. There's room for several vice presidents, however many you have. If you say no, you'll skip those questions. You won't even see them, and you'll just be able to move on. Secretary is a mandatory field. So just put your secretary's name. email address, and phone number. Treasurer, you're going to do the same thing. And as you can see, you can technically use the same students for multiple officers. Obviously, with your organization, that is hopefully separate people have separate responsibilities. So just make sure that you are keeping track of who is responsible for which officer. Your reservation manager, that is required. Risk manager is also required. Your new member educator or intake chair. And then these last two are optional, your recruitment chair and your social chair. If you have those, if you would like to enter those officers, again, name, email address, phone number. If you don't have those chairs, then you can just skip those and you can just click next. As I mentioned before, we're going to ask for your physical house or facility information. So a few things to keep in mind here. We are going to ask for the house manager. That refers to an undergraduate student. So that's the one who is kind of in charge of activities within the house. The house director is going to be a full-time or part-time staff member. And then the housing corporation is going to be the one who kind of oversees the physical structure. That's usually a national or someone not affiliated with the university that may oversee several facilities. So this first question here, do you have an officially recognized chapter, facility, or house? If you say no, that's all you need to do. You can keep going. You can skip the rest of the page. If you say yes, you're going to see all of this information. So we're going to ask for your street address, your house manager. Like I said, that is going to be the undergraduate student, and they should be populated into our system. I'm going to ask the same thing, name, email address, phone number. The house director, typically they are affiliated with the university, but sometimes they are not. So this is a section that you can just type in. It won't automatically populate. You will just type in the name of your house director. We'll need their email address and their phone number as well. The housing corporation president, like I said, that is the one who oversees the physical structure and kind of the business side of that. Same thing, this is going to be somebody that is not affiliated with the university. So this is just an editable field. We are going to need their email address and their phone number. Do you have any other housing corporation board representatives? If you say yes, you'll fill the rest of this out as appropriate. If you say no, that will disappear and you can move on. Those are optional. We're going to ask some information about your advisor, your chapter advisor. Now, this is going to be a little bit, there's a couple of different variables. If your primary chapter advisor is affiliated with the university, meaning they are faculty or staff, or they have what we call a courtesy appointment, you're going to click yes here. And if you click yes, that is going to be that field that will populate from the Engage platform, and you can search for the name. Now, there have been some instances where faculty and staff were not properly imported into the new system. So if that happens, if you know that your primary chapter advisor is affiliated with the university, is a professor here, and they should be in the system, you type in their name, they're not populating. Send us a quick email, fsl@missouri.edu, with the advisor's name and university email address. We will make sure that they get imported into the system so that the next time you go to register, go through the re-registration process, you will be able to see that and you'll be able to populate that. In that case, if you don't see your advisor's name, go back up here to the first question, select no, and you'll get that editable field where you can just type in the name of your advisor. And that's going to be the same thing if your advisor is not affiliated with the university. You'll hit no and it will bring you to this form as well. I'm going to ask for the same thing, your advisor's name, email address, phone number. The rest of the advisors are going to be optional. If you have a scholarship or academic advisor, if you have a recruitment advisor. If you have those advisors, we're going to ask for the same thing, name, email address, and phone number. Those are optional. If you don't have those, if those don't apply, then you can just move on. Now this page, this is the last page. There's just going to be some acknowledgements that you're going to read and agree to. These links will take you to the MU Code of Conduct. So you can click on that, read it, and just familiarize yourself with the University Code of Conduct. So make sure that you are familiar with that. Make sure that that is accessible to your members and is reviewed as needed. There's also some guidelines for student organizations, and fraternity and sorority life is considered a recognized student organization. So just make sure to give that a look over again. Make sure that that is handy if anybody wants to look at that. So those are both going to be accessed here. We'll also have that on our group page, fraternity and sorority life, in the Engage platform. So this is just an acknowledgement that all of the information that you have previously provided is accurate and up to date, and you acknowledge that you have the responsibility to let us know if anything changes between now and the re-registration process in the spring. So that you'll just click agree, and then you have submitted your re-registration process. Now that form is going to go back to us here at Fraternity and Sorority Life. We will review it. We will finalize your registration within the Engage platform, and then we will send an email to the person who filled this out. It will go to their email. It will also be a notification on Engage. Now, one final thing before we finish, only one officer needs to fill this out. Typically, that's going to be the president, but if the president wants to delegate that to someone else, make sure you're having a conversation with your leadership board about that, because only one officer needs to fill this out. If multiple people try to complete this, it can cause some registration issues. So just make sure that only one person is filling that out. We'll send a notification to the person that filled that out, and then we will get you all updated in the Engage platform, and we will have all of your officer information, all of your contact information in our database so that we can keep that updated as well.